Tiberius's reign. Stability and darkness in early Imperial Rome. The reign of Tiberius de 1437, Rome's second emperor, is a study in contrasts, a period marked by administrative stability, fiscal prudence, and military restraint, yet also by growing autocracy, political repression, and a legacy of suspicion and fear. The duality of stability and darkness is central to understanding both the achievements and the infamy of Tiberius's rule. 1. Background and succession. Tiberius was born into the patrician Claudian family in 42 BCE, and became the stepson of Augustus after his mother, Livia, married the future emperor. His early career was distinguished by military success and administrative competence. However, his path to the throne was indirect and reluctant, shaped by Augustus's dynastic maneuvering and the premature deaths of other heirs. Tiberius was ultimately adopted by Augustus and became his successor, though both he and the Roman elite viewed this transition with some hesitation to administrative stability and governance. Consolidation and continuity. Tiberius's administrative philosophy was marked by caution, pragmatism, and a strong emphasis on continuity with Augustus's system. He consolidated imperial power, further defining the role of the emperor princeps as the ultimate authority in Roman administration. His early years were characterized by efforts to work with the Senate and maintain the facade of republican governance, fiscal prudence. Tiberius is widely recognized for his financial responsibility. He inherited a depleted treasury and responded by curbing unnecessary expenditures, ending costly building programs, and instituting a more professional bureaucracy. He developed a new system for managing imperial finances, ensuring the legions were paid and the state remained solvent. His maxim, "Shear my sheep, don't flay them," reflected his insistence on moderation in provincial taxation during the banking crisis of AD 33. Tiberius intervened by injecting funds into the banking system, stabilizing the economy and demonstrating his commitment to fiscal health. Provincial administration. Tiberius's provincial policy focused on stability and the prevention of abuses. He often left governors in office for longer tenures to promote continuity, but also cracked down on corruption and emphasized moderation in taxation. He generally avoided new conquests, preferring to consolidate and secure existing borders. Legal and social policies. Tiberius was an active legislator, enforcing existing laws and addressing social issues such as interest rates, prostitution among the elite, and the expulsion of certain religious groups. He intervened in crises like grain shortages and urban fires, providing compensation and directing senatorial action. 3. Military campaigns and foreign policy. Tiberius was one of Rome's most experienced generals before becoming emperor. His reign marked a shift from expansionism to a more defensive and pragmatic military policy. No major expansion. Tiberius avoided wars of conquest, focusing on maintaining the empire's frontiers and internal stability. Germania and the Rhine. After the disaster at Teutoburg Forest, he abandoned plans for large-scale conquest east of the Rhine, instead using diplomacy and proxy management to keep Germanic tribes divided. Eastern policy. He continued Augustus's diplomatic approach in the east, supporting client kings and avoiding direct conflict with Parthia. Suppression of revolts. Tiberius effectively suppressed revolts in Africa, Gaul, and Thrace, but these were defensive actions rather than expansionist wars. His military restraint is now seen as a pragmatic, grand strategy that ensured the long-term stability of the empire. 4. Relationship with the Senate and political institutions. Early cooperation and growing tension. Tiberius initially sought to restore some dignity and authority to the Senate, encouraging free discussion and merit-based appointments. However, his reserved temperament, ambiguous communication, and reluctance to fully embrace the role of emperor created unease among senators. Rise of autocracy and the treason trials. Over time, Tiberius's relationship with the Senate deteriorated. The rise of Lucius alias Sejanus, the ambitious Praetorian prefect, marked a turning point. Sejanus manipulated the machinery of government and orchestrated a series of treason trials, maestas trials, that targeted senators and members of the imperial family. These trials, often based on fabricated charges and incentivized by rewards for informers, created a climate of fear and repression. Tiberius's increasing suspicion and withdrawal from direct governance, especially after his retreat to Capri, left the Senate subservient and fearful, with real power concentrated in the hands of the emperor and his favorites. 5. The role of Sejanus and the Reign of Terror. Sejanus's rise to power was facilitated by Tiberius's trust and eventual seclusion on Capri, as de facto ruler of Rome. Sejanus used the treason trials to eliminate rivals and amass power. His eventual downfall in AD 31, orchestrated by Tiberius, led to further purges and a continuation of the climate of fear. The treason trials and political purges of this period left a lasting mark on the Roman elite and contributed significantly to the darkness associated with Tiberius' reign. 6. Retreat to Capri and its implications. In 26 CE, Tiberius withdrew from Rome to the island of Capri, where he remained until his death. This retreat was motivated by personal loss, political disillusionment, and paranoia about conspiracies. From Capri, Tiberius continued to govern through correspondence, but delegated much authority to Sejanus and later other officials. Ancient sources, especially Suetonius and Tacitus, depicted Tiberius's life on Capri as one of debauchery and cruelty. Modern historians, however, caution that these accounts are likely exaggerated or fabricated by hostile senatorial sources. Nevertheless, Tiberius's absence from Rome created a power vacuum, fostered instability, and further eroded the collaborative model of governance established by Augustus. 7. Primary sources and their reliability. The main ancient sources for Tiberius's reign, Tacitus, Suetonius, and Cassius Dio, are all hostile and written decades after his death. Their accounts are shaped by senatorial resentment and the political climate of their own times. Modern historians emphasize the need for critical evaluation of these sources, recognizing their biases and the limitations of their evidence. 8. Modern historical assessments. Contemporary scholarship has revised the traditional view of Tiberius, while acknowledging the real problems of his later reign, especially the treason trials and the climate of fear. Modern historians recognize his administrative skill, military competence, and the stability he brought to the Roman Empire. The negative image of Tiberius is now seen as at least partly the result of hostile ancient propaganda. Tiberius is increasingly viewed as a complex and enigmatic figure, a reluctant but effective ruler whose reign set important precedents for imperial administration and succession. His legacy is one of both stability and darkness, with the truth lying somewhere between ancient slander and modern rehabilitation. Conclusion: stability and darkness intertwined. Tiberius's reign was a paradoxical era of stability and darkness. His administrative and military policies ensured the prosperity and security of the Roman Empire, laying strong institutional foundations for his successors. Yet his growing autocracy, the climate of suspicion and repression, and his withdrawal from public life cast a long shadow over his legacy. The duality of Tiberius's rule, its achievements and its terrors shaped the early imperial system and left an indelible mark on Roman history. Seven. Primary sources and their reliability. Hook. Most of what we know about Tiberius's reign comes from hostile sources. How do we separate fact from fiction in the accounts of ancient historians? This section will focus on the ancient sources, Tacitus, Suetonius, and Cassius Dio, and their reliability, discuss how these sources were shaped by senatorial resentment, and how modern historians have reassessed Tiberius's reign in light of these biases. Key expansion ideas. Examine how each of these sources portrays Tiberius differently, and the implications for our understanding of his reign. Discuss the role of ancient propaganda and how it shaped the legacy of Tiberius. 8. Modern historical assessments. Hook. Was Tiberius the cruel tyrant ancient sources claim, or was he a misunderstood ruler whose administrative genius has been overshadowed by centuries of negative propaganda? In this section, you can explore contemporary assessments of Tiberius, discuss how modern historians view his reign, focusing on his contributions to the stability of the empire and his complex legacy, include a balanced view of both the positive and negative aspects of his rule. Key expansion ideas highlight how Tiberius's role in the development of imperial governance has been reassessed. Discuss his long-term impact on the imperial system and his successors, particularly in terms of political stability and military policy. Conclusion: stability and darkness intertwined. Hook: Tiberius' reign was a paradox, an empire strengthened yet scarred by the very man who ruled it. In the end, his legacy is one of both stability and darkness, forever shaping the course of Rome's imperial future. Conclude by emphasizing the complexity of Tiberius's legacy. Reiterate the duality of his rule, his contributions to Roman stability, and his authoritarian, repressive actions. Reflect on how Tiberius' reign laid the groundwork for the future of the empire, and how his reign continues to be a subject of fascination for historians and scholars. Let me know if you'd like additional help fleshing out any section or creating more hooks.